Good afternoon. Welcome back to CloudGenera.com. If you're here, hopefully it means that you watched our first two videos. But just in case you haven't, let me give you a brief recap. In our first video, we showed how you can create your first scorecard in 2 minutes or less, leveraging the global templates and an account that you can create at CloudGenera.com. At any point in time during this video, feel free to go to CloudGenera.com to create a trial account and model the same scenarios alongside the videos in another window if you like. In our second video, we took a little bit more time to unpack the inputs and outputs around the executive summary that you see in front of you right now. We talked about the different dimensions of analysis. We also talked about the depth of the output after the executive summary to show you exactly what you provision in those cloud providers. In this third video, we want to focus on a different type of concept. We don't want to just focus on where you deploy an application. We'd like to talk about how you deploy it. Does it make sense to only consume infrastructure as a service? Should we consider a mix of infrastructure and platform as a service? Or should we alternatively consider software as a service? In a complex world of cloud services with all the different choices that are out there where folks are often overwhelmed, it's difficult to understand how to evaluate all those options in a data-driven way. If you bear with me in the next 2 minutes, I'm actually going to show you a single scorecard that incorporates all three levels of the stack in a single view. We're going to produce a case that shows an infrastructure provider, a provider that has a combination of infrastructure and platform as a service, specifically database as a service, and an option that shows software as a service side by side in a single view on a single scorecard. So the first way we do that is we update our settings to make sure that we have the appropriate cloud providers so that as the engine considers the choices, we have some options that will meet the different capabilities that we're looking for. Office 365, as many of you know, is a software as a service or SaaS provider. These other providers focus on infrastructure as a service with a mix of platform as a service. And so after we update our settings, excuse me, we can go ahead and hide those. Then we want to take a peek at our candidate itself. We have the ability to specify the particular plan in the Office 365 catalog that we'd like to compare to the IaaS and PaaS offerings that are going to come out on the scorecard. And so SharePoint Online Plan 2 is what's specified by default in the template, but we have the ability to specify an E3, for example, or to specify an E4 if we wanted to do that. In this case, we'll keep it simple and we'll go back to the SharePoint Online Plan 2 that was part of the template when we first provisioned this part of the account. We're going to update this candidate. SharePoint Online Plan 2 will be kind of our placeholder that we'll use to compare to the other options in our catalog. Before we generate the scorecard, let's take a glance at the application design to understand what happens behind the scenes. So all of these parts of the application design look very infrastructure centric. We have virtual machines and we have storage nodes. The reason why a platform as a service can come into the conversation is because CloudGenera's decision engine is sophisticated enough to take a look at a part of the application design like this data tier and understand that this may be a good fit for database as a service. Again, pay attention to this when we unpack the details on the scorecard. Now we're ready to go back to the output, regenerate a scorecard, and take a look at what comes out in the end. So we see Office 365. We don't yet know what plan, but we'll know that here very soon. We have Microsoft Azure and we have Amazon Web Services. For those who don't yet know this, this is a SaaS offering. Microsoft Azure is a 100% infrastructure as a service offering, and Amazon Web Services is a combination of infrastructure and platform or database as a service. So now, again, we can see how they score. We can see what they cost. Let's look at the particulars of the plan that we have. We have a SharePoint Online Plan 2, and we're comparing that right alongside a Microsoft Azure solution and an Amazon Web Services solution. Now, the reason that we know that this is a combination IaaS and PaaS solution in the case of Amazon is because we're recommending platform as a service versus infrastructure as a service. We're specifically recommending RDS, a single availability zone, and we see the comparable cost of that solution right next to what could happen in another provider. And so we have, again, a combination of all those choices on the same scorecard. Now, one thing that we haven't shown in previous videos is that we have the ability to actually generate a report, to leave this analysis behind with a customer, or to ponder this if you, as a user, want to take a deeper look than doing this online real time. And you have the ability to look at the same math and the same provisioning details of what the engine recommended. So we see the executive summary. We see the scores. We see the cost. We see essentially what is the bill of materials and the summary view of exactly what we provision in each of those clouds. Now, I'm going to go back to this and regenerate one more view where we compare this very quickly to an enterprise plan. So what if we wanted to compare this to an E3? What does that cost summary look like? Let's update our candidate. We're going to go back and regenerate a scorecard, and we'll have a whole different view of what that looks like. Office 365 is still in play. Our cost has gone up. And now we see that not only do we have a different plan, but we also specify the components of that plan, right? So if you don't know what's part of an E3 plan, now you have a little bit of a primer or a legend on what that actually looks like. The final thing that we'll show in this video is that we have the ability to control the types of output that we want to see. And we do that in our settings section. So if we only wanted to look at software as a service, we can specify that. And that'll lock us in this case, for Office 365. If we only want to look at infrastructure options, we can do that. Now, what this is going to mean is that for something like Amazon, that was previously a hybrid solution of infrastructure and platform as a service, again, some of you have noticed that Amazon now has a different view. We've also noticed that Office 365 has dropped off the scorecard because that is a SaaS only, or software as a service only option. If we were to go back and look at Amazon now, that solution is strictly going to be based on the infrastructure as a service comparison, or EC2. So here's our data tier. And again, we're back to infrastructure as a service. Now, if we don't have a preference and we want to let CloudGenera's decision engine come back with the best fit across the board, we can choose a combination option for IaaS and PaaS, or we can go with no preference. And what this essentially tells the engine is, we trust your recommendation to come back with the best of breed solution across multiple levels of the stack, and give us, in conclusion, a software as a service option, a 100% infrastructure as a service option, and a combination infrastructure and platform as a service option. Once again, thank you for coming to CloudGenera.com to understand how CloudAssist may help empower your organization to make better data-driven decisions and navigate the cloud operating model. Again, consider creating a trial account at CloudGenera.com, follow along with any of our videos, or give us a call if you feel like we can help empower your company to make better decisions. Thank you.